Hello everybody, in today's video we are going to keep working on balancing the lighting in our scene, so part 2 of this series, and I'm going to show you a different method to light your scene with fill lights and taking full advantage of Lumen and emissive materials. So let's get started. I left my scene with its lighting balance using two rectangular lights, this one right here and here. Just let me go into gain mode, pressing G, these two lights here. That helps me balance this scene for me. And I mentioned about performance drops that we'll experience by keep adding more and more lights. So if I go in here, lights, and keep adding more spotlights to the scene, let's add another one here. Let me just pick this one and move this right here. Well, it didn't move. Let's go in here. Let's change that to movable as well, so we don't have that error there showing in our light when it's overlapping. And let's go into optimization view mode, light complexity, and you start seeing that we go into the red to purple values when it overlaps. And also the red lights are influencing this light setup. So if I toggle that off, now I got values more into green, orange, which is better than having it into the higher end of this spectrum. And go back to lit. Of course, this is overexposed. Probably go back to 4 to 3. Let me just set this guide in here as a game hidden, actor hidden in game, just so it doesn't show the shadows there. Okay, so we got to be mindful of our frame per second, unless you're doing this just for the still renders and the cinematics animations that you just do in the movie render queue. For that, you can use as many light as your viewport will permit in terms of frame per second until it's workable, probably 20 frame per second, 15 still there, you can still work with that. But if we are creating experiences for our client so that can walk through like a video game, change materials, open doors, set different type of lighting, we need to be mindful of the frame per second that we use, and the lighting can affect this on top of other processes as well, like also the materials and the shading and all this process that runs behind in the engine. Otherwise, we will be using Twinmotion, D5, Lumen, etc. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you a little technique I learned not too long ago, and that is taking full advantage of Lumen and emissive materials to create fill light that will help us bring more light into the scene, but also having a better performance in our game or application. So let me show you. But before we do that, let me just go back in here, go into my static meshes and select all of them. I know we did some changes on the volumetric when we were doing the exterior scene. I think it was this one, we changed the value in here. So let's just put this back in here to 20, just so we don't have any nasty artifacts going on. And also, if you experience some artifacts with the lighting that it's flickering, I don't have the video here because I already reverted my Nvidia graphics driver, but I'm going to show you. This is the most stable version for your graphics card for the GeForce, of course, for the Nvidia one. The 552.44 is the one that is, I think it's at today is 23rd of September, is the most stable in for Unreal Engine. So just bear in mind, if you see like the spotlights flickering, some strange issues in here that I faced when I upgraded the driver, just revert back to that version 552.44. and that should get rid of that. So just two things that I wanted to mention before getting into the fill lights. So let's do it. Right, so I just got rid of all my lights here, all the fill lights, and I'm going to go into materials, then master, then I'm going to create a new material. Let's call this M fill light, just to distinguish from any other type of material. So I've got my material here, and now I want to change this shading model to on lit. So this will only output emissive for color, and because we are using Lumen, it also will cast light. And this is perfect because we are not having like reflection, shadows, specularity. We are just using an emissive color for this. And you can just learn a little bit more on the shading models in here. I can leave the link in the description as well. So just to understand how each of those shading model works. So we're going to use this only one for this case. So just let me put it back where it was. And now I want to add a color. So I'm going to press 3 and then a vector 3. Set this to probably white. And I'm going to set a multiplied here, just so I can control my emissive intensity. And let's go into press S for looking for a parameter S, and then left click to create a parameter. So emissive intensity. Uh, intensity with S. Right, so I got it here, and when I plug it in into emissive color, you see it's going to get black. If I press 1, it's gonna be white, and then if I press 10, it's gonna go all the way being an emissive. So for now, just let's save this and see how this is going to work in our scene. I'm gonna go and grab a shape here. Just gonna use a plane, simple plane. Put it in here like it was a rectangular light. Just move it right there. Let me just increase the size of it a little bit, just so it covers all of that area. And now let's create a material instances of this. We can call it MI fill light and move this into instances, probably into emissive. Makes more sense to have it there. So I'll go in here and place it right there. Whoa, that's a lot of intensity now. So let me go in here and reduce the intensity. Let's see, go to 1. I didn't do much. Maybe if I move it, it refresh. Oh, we can move it back indeed. And good thing about Lumen is that we can use these emissive materials just to give us a little bit more of light into our scene. And if I go into this lighting method 1 and hide it, you see we got lighting coming in. And now this opens more possibilities in terms of performance, because if I want to go into here, optimization view mode, look at that. Everything is black. But if we see our scene, it's lit in this case. So we need to start doing a little bit of some tricks in here just to hide the reflections. As you can see here, we don't want to show this in our project. So probably we want to go in here and go into hidden in gain. Okay, It's still there. It's no longer there. There is still a little bit of emissive there. But also I want to go in here, lighting. Uh, it was a lighting. Yeah, this one, and this one here. Go into advanced and then look for effect indirect lighting while hidden. So it's not there anymore, although it's quite dark this side of it. But still we can see this shadow here, this reflection, sorry, not shadow. So how we get rid of this reflection in our mirrors and in our also other areas where are highly reflective. So let me go just back in here. I'm gonna show you a way of doing a custom sort of like a shader for your material. So I'm going to go back to my material here, my fill light, and I'm going to add a custom node. This is a little bit more advanced, and I also learned this recently, so it's still getting there, but I made it work for this case. So I go in here and look for custom, then select this one here. So there is a bunch of code in here that we can start writing. It's the same that we can find in here. I think I better write in there. So I'm gonna go hashtag if, then lumen, or in caps lock, then underscore card, then capture. Then let me go. I'm gonna press shift and enter just to get a return here. So I'm gonna go return, but this time in without the caps lock, space, and then lumen, then this point and comma, and then shift again, then hashtag else, then again shift enter, then return, space default, and then point and comma. Don't know how you say that in English, to be honest, but I would say point and comma, and then end hashtag and if. And I'm going to have two inputs. One is default, and another one. This one is going to be lumen. But also I need to set this instead of the blend mode. It's not in here. Sorry. Material domain. No, actually, it was in here. Sorry, it just confused me with material domain. So this one, I'm gonna set to mask, just because I want to mask this when it's in Lumen. I'm gonna show you how this works. So I'm gonna go and set this multiply by a scalar here, like a sector, a vector 1. So 1, and then press left click, and I'm gonna set this to 0. I'm gonna multiply this one by this default here. And I'm going to grab another multiply and multiply this value in here and connect this to Lumen. Now this is going to go into the emissive color, and we got this custom here. We can call this Lumen fill light switch, or switch lumen pass, whatever you find it the most logical way to call it. Now I want to duplicate this, so Control C, Control V. I'm gonna get a parameter to, so it's S scalar parameter left click and call this uh, default value, and another scalar parameter and lumen. And then set this to 1. And I'm gonna do this just because it's going to help me visualize it when I move it in this scene. And I set this to opacity mask. As you can see now, it's not showing anywhere, but let's see how these effects are seen. Okay, now you see my reflection. Don't know if you can see it there. Now there is no, the light is not there. So if I go back into fill light, let me just move this to 1. This is going to be this black, uh, sort of with black material. Let me just change this to 1. Was it 2 or 1? And in here it's not affecting anymore. So I need to leave this at 1. And this move to 0. So it just needs to refresh, I guess, the shader. So let's move it back in here, and let's see, no reflections in there, and no reflections in there. So you see how this can become powerful for our scene. Now we can balance our lighting in this way. Now I could just grab another one this side, turn it 180. Let me just get back to default to 1, just so I can see the shape of it. Now I can reduce the size of it and then move it in here and here. I can just move it outside there. And trying to balance our lighting a tiny bit more, 0.5, or play with our volumes in here. So the interior, I'm gonna go the exposure, reduce the exposure here. Okay, so now we start seeing more balanced lighting there, just like emulating a little bit of more like the environment light. And we can change the color of it as well. Let me just go here and set this to convert parameter and call this emissive color. Let me save that. And then this color here, maybe want it a little bit more bluish or red, orange. You can see here. And that it's the one of the best thing that Lumens have brought to us with this this way of working with lighting. And you can see it's like there is no light in there, like it's optimal. But of course it's not as realistic as we need it for the for our environment. So let's go in here, let's save, let it just refresh a tiny bit and get back to our lighting in here. So we can also, let's go back into our camera here. This is 0.3, so I'm going to pilot. So this plane in here, let me just pull back that lens, the exposure again, and let's bring it down 5.5, 5.4. And then this plane in here, I can just move it and see how much light I want in this scene. And this side, okay. Now I'm gonna get back to this, set default to 0 so I don't see it. Increase the light to 2, to 5, to 10, and need to move it to just update the scene a tiny bit. So probably if I go back to 1, it should be all right. So just be mindful that when it's, for example, with this trees in here, it's going to show that there is a light there, fill light. So maybe I will need to reduce the size, get back to 1, and then maybe do something like this, or even maybe even rotate it and see if we got some nice lighting coming in like that. So the scene looks pretty much balanced to me. This a little bit overexposed, maybe the wood, maybe there is too much specularity on that. So maybe I'll reduce these to maybe 0.2, 0, and there is no maybe the, so I can play also with the brightness of this wood in here. And let's see. So again, the light complexity, look, without any other sort of light, everything is blue and seemed to me, oh, that's interesting. If we go into light complexity, you can see the black one there. Okay, so we can also add more to this. Let me just duplicate this fill light here, call this artificial maybe. And now let's add another plane. In this case, I'm gonna place it in here. Reduce the size a tiny bit, just because there is a theta light in there. But actually, we might even be able to just place this light there. No, it's not gonna do the same thing. No, it's not gonna show the emissive material as I want, so probably it's not the best approach to do it. For this, I'm gonna use this emissive material I've got here. So probably lampshade LED would be per name for that. And then increase the intensity maybe to 1. So is there, but I think it's not enough for what we need. So we are gonna use this extra plane there. And then increase the size to cover all of that. Maybe put it a little bit down, and then we can use that artificial light in there. Let's set this to 0 so it's not visible, and then Probably multiply the intensity a tiny bit up. So zero. He needs to increase the size of it. So probably we need, that's the only thing that with this method you need to get your mesh to be a little bit big. It doesn't work with like tiny, because there is not much surface of the light that it can emit. So you might need to increase the size of your mesh just to see the effect. Then default 0. And then if we change this to, so we can see it there. Maybe increase the size a tiny bit. Now it's too much. We might even be better just adding a red light for that case. Yeah, that is too much for what we need. Let me just move it in here. But we can also change the color of the light. Let me just put it a little bit like that, and let's turn it down even in the color. Let's see how this behaves. Let's move it a tiny bit. So it's not too bad. I mean, we can keep tweaking parameters in here, but starting to look something nice, giving some area lights there. But let's use it in the kitchen and see how it goes in there. Let me just go back to 1 in here just to see where am I. Well, I need to rotate this, and then what if I pull it up the other way? Maybe it's too much in there, so probably I'm gonna just leave it like that. Some nice lighting going on in there. Probably need to reduce the size of it. And these I'm gonna change to the Emissive LED. So I'm not too convinced on this one, so probably because I don't have too many lights in this scene, I can start now working with my red lights in here, and probably it's gonna give me a better effect than using the fill lights. So the fill lights is great for that, for having the scene with the indirect light in there, allowing to come to help you direct your scene. But when it's needed, of course, we need to just use the normal lights. So in this case, I'm just gonna put this in here, probably reduce the radius to something like 300, and then increase the size of this. Give me more detail for what we needed, for what we need in there. Probably it's too much, so probably I go back to 0.5, 0.2, and it's starting to look much better. Maybe 0.1, just to have that detail light in there, and then just increase a tiny bit. So 320. Yeah, this should be work fine. And let's bring one of those spheres and see how this looks. That's starting to look. Okay, it looks quite balanced. It looks quite nice. Maybe this extra fill light there, it's also helping in some way. Let me just move it. Okay, let me just move it wrong here. Maybe reduce the size a tiny bit. And move it there. So without it, seems like it doesn't do much now that I'm seeing it. Oh, there is some light coming in here, which is nice. But probably I'm okay without it. But just to show you that this is quite handy to have it. So when you need to bring more light and keep your light complexity down. So I'm on the greens in here and I'm on the blues in here. As you can see, let me just set that to 0. So next video will be all about the artificial light and how we're gonna start mapping up all these spotlights, adding some textures to it just so it looks more realistic, and then doing the bathroom as well, the shower room. So it's pretty much the same principle. We're gonna bring one of those fill lights to help us out. This one maybe I can just put it up just so it doesn't show too much on our vegetation there. Let's see if it does make any difference. So something like that. Just that's the only thing that you need to be mindful if it's hitting any vegetation and then if it doesn't look realistic, just play around with its position and then make it work. But now I pretty much do the same thing with the rec lights, but now using this fill light material with this expression here, this custom one. Don't worry, I left this in the description or on a comment just so you can copy paste and then go in here and then some Control C, Control B, and that should work for you. So that's it for this video. It's going to be a part 3 just so it doesn't get too long for you and for me as well. And yeah, the next one is going to be all about artificial lighting and how we can set these properly for our final scene. So hope you like this video. Thank you to my Patreons for supporting the work as well, and all of you who have purchased the template as well. That helps me keep going with this channel, and also with the paying for what is the drive, the Google Drive, the P Cloud, the cloud system where I saved all these files. And also, if you join to the patrons, if you access to any of the tiers, you can have access to the Unreal files as well. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and keep active, keep creative, and I hope to see you soon. So take care. Cheers.